Um, okay, so same thing. Sorry, Caitlin. And then Madeline, can you hear me? You may have to do a thumbs up as well. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. I can prove I turned it up halfway, so people in the room can say, yeah, she did, but so sorry about that. Okay, I can unmute you. Yep, sorry, but as long as you can hear me, that's good. Okay, so we are going to be doing the PD today on Google Slides, and it's going to be out of the SUHSD PD course. So even though a lot of material that I presented so far has been out of RecTech, I'm doing, moving forward, everything out of SUHSD PD. And that way, it's a one-stop shop for all of your PD needs. So in Canvas, you'll log in, and you may have not even noticed that you have this course, but you should have this course here. Happy green, mine was pink a little while ago, but it has a little thought bubble, and it's called SUHSD PD. You can also go to it through courses, and you should see it here. Like that. Okay, so then from here, you can even sign up for more PD from here, which is really exciting. But for now, we're just going to go to afternoon PD. And we're right in the middle here. We'll go to Google Slides on October 9th. It's today. Okay, so once you're in here, we'll be kind of going back and forth through this course. It's fairly sequential, but if you ever get lost, you can find your way back that way, or I'm just gonna go, I think I put little links to go back. At the bottom of each activity today, you should have a little link. Click here to go back to the Google Slides. So you don't have to go all the way back out to home from the course. You can just go back to this page. So before we get started through the actual content here, logistical needs. I mentioned no food in here, water is okay. There are restrooms inside the building. If you just go into the hallway that's right there to the left and then turn left again, restrooms there. If you need a quick break, feel free to get up and walk around, right? We're all adults. You guys have been teaching all day, so definitely get up if you need to just stretch. I have no problem with that whatsoever. All right, so we're going to be talking about, this is sort of an agenda as well, a little bit about some of the cool formatting features that Google Slides offers. So we're going to be looking at some themes and templates and the Slide Master. Has anybody ever used the Slide Master? Oh, nice. Okay. And I mean, you sound like you're really powerful if you can edit the master, right? Which is really cool. And then some image formatting, and then we'll get into links and buttons and sharing. Yes. So you're going to go into the SUHSD PD course. If you go for your dashboard, it looks similar to this aside from the coloring. If you don't have this course anywhere, then I can help you with that as well. Otherwise, if you go from courses, if you don't see it in here, try all courses. And it's called SUHSD PD. And this list is alphabetical. Have you found it there? Yeah? Okay, so go ahead and click on that. Maybe make the star happen. Then from here, I can rearrange the modules, but let's just go to afternoon PD. And then scroll down the list until today, October 9th, and it's Google Slides. And you can click on that, it's linked as well. And then we get here. All right, I'm just gonna a little bit more normal. Okay, so let's start off with formatting. Oh, and one side bonus. You try, before we get to formatting, try clicking on the attendance. You don't get to see this, right? Yours says you can't get there yet. So one other thing, and if you've been to one of these trainings before, I've mentioned this. I like to do my trainings out of Canvas for a few reasons. One is all of these resources that you'll see on each of the pages, you'll have access to those forever from now on, well, as long as you're in this district, and we still use Canvas. So you'll have all of these resources at your fingertips. You don't have to remember, what was the name of that slide that she shared? right? It'll just be there. But then also you get to see some of the features that you may not have known existed otherwise in Canvas, okay? So for example, you can make your own buttons and have them linked to different resources within your Canvas course. So you can sort of make a little web page for your students if you want to. And that's what I've done in here. You can link back and forth. I've also made this as a module in Canvas. So if you haven't tried modules yet, you're actually trying it now, where that's how I made it so that you can't take the attendance yet, because I put in requirements in this module and you have to complete this module to get to the attendance module. So something that you can try with your students because you've seen it, even though you know, you're not actually putting it into your course yet. So even though this is just on Google, we're doing a little smidgen of Canvas thrown in for just for good measure. So I'm just going to click on formatting. You could also just click next here. That's the other bonus of having a module. I lied, I click next instead. Is that there's that little next and previous button. And so you can take students through the content of your course sequentially. All right, so there are a lot of assignments in here. And so what we're going to do is you're going to first check out Slides Carnival, okay? So Slides Carnival is a place that you can go to with pre-built themes and templates for both Google Slides and PowerPoint. And it's really cool, and there's a lot there. So now I'll click on this. So the resources are fully embedded, okay? So I'm gonna go first into just Slides Carnival, and you'll see, okay, there's a bunch in here, free PowerPoint, and they have them grouped. You can look at all at once, or you can start with simple, which are not terribly simple, but you can kind of preview each one if you scroll through. And then if you like one of them, you can download it and use it, and it's all free to use. So if searching through all of these slides is a little bit much, I'm going to go back to the Canvas course. There's a second link here where it says add this folder to your drive. I went to a conference, I don't remember which one it was, last spring or in the summer, one of the two. And there is someone that has taken all of the Slides Carnival, and they do try to keep it updated, and they have put those all into a Google Drive folder. And they've shared it so anybody can access it. And so that way, if you open up the folder, it just opens up a Drive folder, and you can add it to your own Drive. It does say read this first, because she said she got really tired of people saying, can you give me access? And the read this first says, don't ask for access, just do file, make a copy. That's all, just file, make a copy. So that's what the read this first is. We'll get rid of that. But if you click on the actual folder where it says Slides Templates, if you're like me, I'm very linear, I was a math teacher, I like things alphabetic in my drive, I want to see what everything is. But for these purposes, we might want a preview of this. So something you may not know, and mine is covered by all of this, it's even in here, is this little button way to the right. You can see, I can turn on my little cursor thing and see if that works. Okay, this guy right here. This will change your view into preview mode. Now when you go back into your drive for other purposes later, you're gonna go, why is it all like this? It's so hard to find stuff. Just click it again and you'll go back to list mode. But for this folder, it's nice to be able to see the different presentation formats and say, oh, I want this one. I'm really feeling fun and free and festive, right? All those apps. Right? Or, you know, that might be a little much. We're gonna tone it down a little and go a little bit more basic. But it's great, it's really quick, and it saves you search time. So go ahead and take, not too much time, but a little bit of time and pick a theme that you like and download it so that you can use that theme. Yeah.
Once we get one that we like, some of them come with a lot of different pictures. So how do I want all of the new slides to be this? How do I do it?
So there are a couple ways. One is, this one is the title slide, so you can click next to the slide. and then just keep adding the title slide. Or you can always do Control D, duplicate that slide, or right click on that over here, and duplicate, and then it'll just do that.
This template. With this. Slides.
Yeah, you can copy just that one. Mhm. And then open a new one and then just paste it. Mhm. So the Spice Carnivals even come with, instructions for make sure that you give credit, things like that. So there will be a slide for that at the end. So even if you get rid of some of the other stuff, let's see what this one is. Definitely keep that. Okay, so right now it's saying view only. I want to actually edit this. I'm going to do File, make a copy. And then orange slides. I'm going to move them though, not keep them in the template. And then you wait for the circle. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the copy that I don't have editing rights to, but now I can do whatever I want in here. Okay, except that the mouse says no. All right. So where it says this is your presentation title, I'm going to put in select all of them. Maybe. I really did put an A at the beginning. I'm going to get rid of the cursor because I think that's what's causing some problems here. Right, and you can move it around, do whatever you want with it. And you'll notice that there are a lot of different actual slide types within the presentation. So, and it gives you some instructions. But let's say, well, that one's okay. I don't think I really want the Jaguar in this. You can get rid of that, right? So you can change them around. You can use the slides that you want or not, right? I would use more with maybe a combo like this where there's some not standard traditional font, but the bulk of it's going to be a more traditional font where something like this might be hard for people to read. Okay, if it's the bulk of what they're reading, so something like this might be nice. So you can choose what to use and what not to use, but do make sure, browse to the end. Give credit where credit is due. It gives you information on the colors used, the fonts used. So it's really nice. You can actually use some of that if you like that and use it in future presentations as well. But here's the credits to make sure you keep those, right? And you can add additional credits there as well, like picture credits. So that's Slides Carnival. You can either search through the web or through the folder, but it's super fast, more themes and templates than you could ever imagine. Questions there? Okay. So then if we go back to the Canvas course, I'm going to keep clicking through this little Google slide copy in here. And so then we're going to get into, I put in student activity. We're going to build or work on changing the master in your slides. So what it says here, this is the second part. So we did the first. Now we're going to create our own blank Google slide. So we're not going to use the Carnival word right now. Just make a blank, any blank brand new slide. Okay. Let it load up. I'm going to get rid of the themes. Right? You can still use those themes, but there's so many in Google Slides. Or I actually typically just make my own using the master. So I don't bother with the themes. And so that's what we're going to learn right now. So we're going to get into what the activity actually says. I thought there was another one in between, but it's here we go with Edit Master, and then we'll show the activity. I need to rearrange the order there. So I'm going to go into my presentation, and I'm going to click on Slide, and then Edit Master. So then you'll see you have your actual slides that you're working on over here, which is just the one blank. But then you have all of the different types of slides that are available in terms of the master. And we're going to edit over here. So what I usually do to start is I like to include a rectangle. And I just fill the majority of the screen with the rectangle. And then, let's see, I want to center it. So if you notice while I'm moving these around, there are no red lines, right? But if I slide this down, now I see a red line that's horizontal. So that's telling me that I have centered my rectangle vertically. So that red line is the center of the slides completely. Now if I move it left and right and I try to maintain that vertical position, then that other red line shows up. So now I have the two red lines that says I have centered my rectangle both horizontally and vertically. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Then what I usually like to do is actually do a second rectangle. So maybe I should have made this one first, but that's okay. I'm just going to do another one. And we'll also work on the layering. I'll do a second one. And this one, I'm going to make the entire background size. Okay, and you can see, you can use, sometimes the red lines come up, or sometimes the sort of like a margin look comes up. It was really fast and it went away. But down here, there was a little, just move stuff. There was a little kind of blue line that had sort of margin looking things. And that's how you can tell that it's exactly filling. So if you don't see the red, look for those. So now this one is the one I'm going to actually make a color. So I'm going to go first, I'm going to change the fill color. So if you can see up here, I'm going to select a color, or, you know, if I don't like any of the colors here, maybe I want to match something, right? I could, that's really pink. Darker, so one. Right? Don't worry, because I'm going to move this to the very back. So this is just going to be kind of the frame. So we'll start with that and see if we like it. Then I'm going to click up here on Arrange. You can also get there by right-clicking, but I'm going to go from Arrange, Order, and send it to the back. Now the first rectangle that I made, I want to make that one white. Okay. And let's see, this larger one, I think I don't know, changing my mind. I think I want it lighter. Maybe kind of a teal. You can play around with it. But I'm going to make the outline transparent, so I don't have a thick outline. And then on the white one, I'm going to make that outline transparent or white. Okay. And so you can go back to your actual slide and see what it looks like. So now you can see there's a little frame there and then white. I'm not done yet though, so I'm going to go back to Slide, Edit Master. Okay, because I like to use shadows. I think it really adds a little something. Now I'm noticing there's a white line on the outside here. I didn't quite match. I'm going to drag the corner here. Okay, let's see. A little bigger. I'm just going to go outside. Okay. So what I want to do is with the white one, I like to add a shadow. So once you've clicked on it, you can go to Format Options. To the bottom. And then where it says Drop Shadow, I'm going to select that box. And then you can see just the outline of a little shadow on one of the edges. If you, right now it's just along the bottom, but if I wanted it all the way around, what I've done is I'm going to copy the rectangle and paste it. I'm gonna line it up. So that first one had the shadow, but only on the bottom. So now I'm gonna click on the arrow next to drop shadow, and I'm gonna change the angle. It's not really good. Change it 180. Flip there. Now let's see. Now I can see there's a little shadow along the top. And then you can copy it again and you can get a shadow on the edges. So you can create a shadow all the way around by just doing that. Now if I go back out here, I can see there's that shadow around my rectangle. And it just gives it a little something different, so it's not just a rectangle. It looks a little bit more polished. Okay? So then the other thing I want to do, back to the master, is I want to change the font for all of the slides, right? So it defaults to Arial. You can keep Arial, but I'm a little bit particular with my font. So I like to change my fonts. And this is where I'm usually going to go to the first one because then this gives you all of your slides. So for any titles, I'm going to click here. Uh-oh, do we have a question? Since I have no sound. Let's see. Find the chat. Okay, I just put the chat in. If you wanted to open the, start chatting, go for it. Okay, so in here, I'm just going to change the font. I'm not going to change anything else. So you can pick a font here. My rule of thumb that I use is I typically will do something a little bit more straightforward. My favorite right now is Montserrat, at the top, for the bulk of the information where you want somebody to read quite a bit. But then I'll do something a little more fun for the titles. So then it adds that sort of combination. So it's not all one font. So for the titles, a lot of times I'll use shadows into light. Otherwise, make kind of a comic style. So you can do something a little bit more fun just for a title, but then keep the rest of it as plain as possible. Select all. Go to something very clean. You can also play around with the spacing here. So this will impact all of the slides. So when we click out here, now you can see that the title is in that different font and the subtitle is not. And then if you go to your slide layouts, it gives you all the different layouts, but with your font. Oh, I need to. So I'm going to select all of this, copy it, and I'm going to paste it to this one too. Now, no matter what I add something else and it's going to maintain that same outline. Okay? So that's for just making a presentation, but a lot of times what you're going to use your slides for are for activities more than a presentation. Okay? And so I'm going to click back on the Google Slides really quick. Remind me about the color. And so I just made this today. It took me maybe 5 minutes. So I was doing a training and I wanted to show them this piece. I wanted to add it in here. So I added this in. This one slide took me about 5 minutes while everyone was at lunch. And what you can do with something like this is you can have students have to use their language to kind of make a story. So you could add in multiple pictures. And I use the image as part of the master. So it's not just a background. So students can't move it around. Same thing with the little call-out boxes and blurbs. They can't move those because I lock them into the master. The only part that they can do is they can add text. So it's a quick way that you can have students just do a little activity. They can type that in. You can have this, in social studies, have a political cartoon where they're making their own captions. Or even an image from something that's happening right now, and they could give an alternate view, right? In English, you could do that with a picture that relates to whatever you're reading. So it could really go from a lot of the different subject areas, okay? in math, what I've done for something like this is I put in images of equations, and I had the master had categories. And so they had basically like a big, not a Venn diagram because they didn't overlap, but two big boxes, and then they had to sort. Was it in this one or this one? So that part was locked on the master, but then the images they could drag around. And so it's a way that you can create a little activity where they can move some stuff but not others. Okay? And that's all done through the master. So let's add a slide to your presentation that you just made all this stuff with. And actually, I'm going to go in slide, edit master again. And then what you want to do is if you look at the top, you can see this is used by one slide, right? You can see what is going on. The very top one is used by all slides. You don't really want to add your image to something like that because then you're going to have that image on every single slide. But if you scroll down, these match up with those themes when I did the little thing next to the plus sign. So maybe if you wanted to add in something with some text over, this one is so far used by 0. You can pick any of them with the caption in there. And this is where you can add your image. Format options. So here I'm going to also show you, move this again. Moving everybody all over the place. Oh, it's not in here. I'm going back and forth. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. It's Monday, but it's Tuesday, which is wonderful. Long weekend. So if I go back out, I want to go to the Explore tool. We'll look at that first, and then we're going to use that image. Because you don't have to search for your images or even your content outside of Google, because this is all Google, right? You're just going to go to Google to search. So instead, you see at the bottom here, there's that little star. And if you hover over it, it opens up and it says Explore. They've added the Explore tool into slides and documents and sheets. I'm not sure of anything else just yet, but it's a really cool way where you can search for content, at least in slides. You can search for content, you can search for images, and then once you have the two, it'll even give you recommendations for ways to format, which is really awesome. And it's a great tool for your students because it also even applies the credits as it pulls the images in. So let's search for something, some kind of an image that we might want to use. So we'll do both here. We'll pull the image for our activity as well as for the content. Does anybody have an image they want me to search? Something that could become a story.
Food.
Sorry?
Food.
Food. Food near me. Love it. Let's see. I don't want lion. I want. So it's going to give me some links on different food. You know, you could search an actual historical figure in there and it'll give you information. Then students can use that in their presentation. Let's see. Use this one. I'm going to exit out. So you have to get out of the master and be in your regular size. And then that little star is going to be at the bottom. Should still be there. Oh. I'm just going to put this. I just pasted the text in there and I'm not even changing the format or the font or anything. In the title, I'm going to put Italian food. Okay, then I'm going to go to images, where then I still have the search there. So I pulled some information, then I can go to images. Ooh, that looks delicious. You can decide if you like it by looking at a bigger image. You can insert it from here, the blue insert button at the top. Or if you don't like it, you can go to the next one. You can also insert if you know that you're going to like the image. Just click the plus sign and it adds it. Okay, that's my pizza. And if you look, it has the link below, so it's showing exactly where it came from. And these are all free to use images as well. Okay, so that's, let's see. And I like that first one. I'm gonna, I don't know for a caption though. We need to have some people in there. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to, oh my mouse is acting funny today. I'm gonna go back over here. So back on the Explore. So I grabbed some text. As long as you have text and an image, get ready for some magic. Okay, so I'm going back up here and I'm going to click the arrow, the back arrow next to Explore until I get back to Explore here. And look, it's giving me these options for look how you could format your presentation. And you could include a beautiful pizza, this little overlay. Isn't that amazing? And you or your students do very little, which might be bad, right? But it looks professional, right? And it gives them, ooh, the image as a big, huge kind of background with some text, it formats it. So that's a fun little feature for them, okay? So that's using the Explore tool. Now, going back to master and creating activity. I'm gonna take this picture, I just kind of kept it because I wanted a person. I'm gonna copy that and I'm gonna go back to slide, edit master. And I'm down here on something that's only used by one slide. Right now it's calling it one column text. I can rename that as well. I'm gonna paste my image here. This one might be tricky because it won't fill the whole background. So instead I'm gonna just get a little smaller. When it's portrait, it's harder to make it fill the entire slide background. If it's landscape, the wider than it is tall, then you can make it fill a lot more easily and you can crop it down. So I'm just gonna have this one inside here. Okay, and then if I want to include kind of a text blurb, I'm still editing the master so that students can't move these around. I'm gonna go to shapes. So you can either click on the little shapes icon or insert shape. I'm just gonna click on the little shapes icon. I'm gonna go to callouts. And then I can add in text blurb. And I'll just start with one and then I can play around with it. Because really I want this little kind of call out part of it to be up here, right? Not down here. So I'm gonna do some rotating. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna click on, this will let me rotate horizontally first, but I still want it up here. So I'm gonna right click again, rotate, and this time I'm gonna flip vertically. Now I can move this, angle it a little, then it's not in the way. A little overlap would be nice. Maybe not going up her nose, right? You have to be really particular where you're clicking. Okay, so all of this is in the master so that it shows up a little bit better. I may want to maybe darken this a little. A lot. And then I'll make sure to make the font, let me go in here, get rid of the picture itself. And I can make the font when I put in a text box, but look, I can't move anything. That's stuck there because it's part of the master. But I can pull this guy over. And then it white so it shows up. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Then when a student gets this, then they'll be able to add their title. Move that a little. And it says click to add text. So it even shows them, this is where you're supposed to be typing, right? So title this scene, and you can even add instructions. In this scene, you can add that to master so you can't get rid of it. Have her explain what she's doing in Spanish, right? If you're a Spanish teacher. And so then they can be using the language that they're learning to do that, or you can have the two people discussing whatever. All right, so that's a lot with editing the master and some formatting, but there's so much. Are there questions so far?
Is there a way to save it as a layout?
Ooh, I haven't tried doing that. What I've really done is I've just made sort of a blank layout, and then I just name that by Canvas template. And so then anytime I want to make something that's a Canvas tutorial, I go in and I use that one, and I set red background, and then I just do save as, file, make a copy. I think there's a way that you can add to your layouts here, but since every time I see, or the themes, every time I see that pop up, I just exit out. I'm just not, I just ignore those anyway. So I just search for the theme.
Does the master reset every time sort of new presentation?
A brand new, yes. But if you go back to the one that you've saved, then you can just do that. Hey, good question. Okay, so then the one other thing I want to do on images and formatting is, for example, this image here, you can make it look a little bit more professional, a little bit different. You can make your images, crop your images as different shapes. So I'll actually just add another slide here. I'm going to go one without a lot going on, maybe this one. Okay. And since I have Explore open, we'll do a similar theme. Tiramisu images. Okay. They all look pretty delicious, but maybe let's go with the first one. I'm just going to add it. Okay. But like I said, I don't want just a rectangle. So then what I'm going to do, make sure that you have it selected. Okay, so you see how I have the little dots all the way around? So I know I've selected it. Then I'm going to go up to my crop icon. You can see it looks sort of like that. Don't click on the actual crop, because that just crops it. You want to click on the look down arrow next to crop. That lets you crop as a shape. So you can crop as any of these shapes. You can crop as a call out or an arrow, right? So it's cool. And my standard is just making them rounded edges. Okay, but really I'm dreaming about tiramisu right now. Okay. You can change the outline. You can change the thickness of the outline. Really play with that. One of my favorite things is to change the shape of the image that you brought in. Okay. Recenter here. I'm going to go back. So you can do an activity with your students by editing the master. I'm going to go into the Canvas course and I'm going to click next. Okay, so in your Google Slides presentations, we just looked at cropping the images to different shapes. For these, all I did was, I kind of brainstormed and changed the title font and then the body font in my master, and then I added that yellow, that's just a rectangle with a shadow under it. And I just added that to the top in the master, and then it impacted all of the other slides. I have all of these, not as the presentation, so we can look at how I made the master. But I mean, that's really it. I just went to this one and I added in the yellow. There it is. Okay. So let's also look at making your images. You can make it the background in the master, or you can just make it, if you don't want to do all that, you just want one slide with an image. You can use the Explore tool to make it the background, or you can just manually size it. So I'm going to go back into my presentation. And I'm going to add another slide. I just want to add the same type as last time, so I just click plus. We'll get away from food. Okay, so that one's kind of cool. We'll add in a picture that doesn't have too much going on, right? So we can make that the background of a slide. So I just added in a picture, and then I want to pull it all the way to the edge. And if it's hanging over, that's fine. Because in present mode, the only thing that shows is what's inside the range. What I want to do is I want to resize it. And if you notice, once I get here, well, there's no more room to resize, right? So then I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to crop it later. Because what I want to do is I want to make this image be the entire background. Okay, so I overfilled, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop down, but I'm going to crop as a rectangle. So I'm going to click on the image again, and this time I'm just going to click crop image. If I go up to the top, notice that it's not just a blue outline, now there's also the black outline. That shows you that you're in cropping. I'm going to go here and I'm going to pull down a little bar just so I can see where I am. I'm going to move it there. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let's see. All right, that was pretty much where I wanted it anyway. Sides were okay. Okay. So then what I want to do is I kind of don't want the wires in there. Instead, while it's in crop, you can kind of move it around. See? And you can really put it right in the right spot. Okay. If we just had a white background, you could change the transparency. It might be a little weird with the frame, but we can see. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click Format Options. And then all of these pop up. Now under Drop Shadow, let's see, it should be under Adjustments. So I'm going to click on Adjustments, and then I can see Transparency. I can change the transparency of the image to kind of just make it a subtle rainbow cloud background. So then you can add text on top of it, and it doesn't overpower. So if you do that, make sure that you make the image transparent enough that the text shows up, and that you make the text bold enough that it shows, right? So you just have to be a little bit careful, but that's a way to add to your theme. If you have an image, I don't know that we want to do it to the pizza, but maybe we'll do it here. Don't really want to do it to tiramisu either, but that's fine. I'm going to recolor it. So if I click on recolor right now, it says there's no recolor because I haven't done it. But let's say we want it to be a little bit more nostalgic. We could kind of make it at the attempt, right? Or I don't know, there's some reason you want to make everything blue in your life, or just really faint black and white. So you can play around with changing the color of your images as well. Okay. All right. How are we there? Okay. We looked a little bit about rearranging. We can add some text over that rainbow, although we kind of did some text overlay with the master. But here I'm just going to grab a text box, drag it, put it in, and say other. Right? So right now it's not really going to show up that much. I want to make it much bigger. Maybe bold. And maybe even change the color a little. You can try a lighter color since we have kind of a darker background. So just make sure that you can really see it if you do anything like that. Then let's say we want to take an image and then make that sort of our theme. So like this image here, I really want the red of the tomatoes to be part of the rest of the theme. So what I'm going to do is I want to use that exact red. So I have a color picker that I've added as a Google extension. And so if you want, this one's called Colorzilla. I had one that I liked a little bit better, but then I changed the privacy settings on it and gave me all kinds of dire warnings that it was going to be able to take over my computer. So I said, you know, I'm going to go with a different one. So Colorzilla it is. And it's fine. And so if you just go into a different tab and you click on apps over here in the upper left, go to the web store and just Google color picker, you'll come up with a bunch. Colorzilla should be in there. So I'm going to click on Colorzilla. I have to click here. This is why I don't like it. You have to do 2 clicks. So I click to say I want to pick a color. And now you can see whenever I scroll around, this changes because it's looking for that color. Maybe in another part, I'm going to use some of the green. I kind of have to find that. My mouse is being a little slow today. So that tomato's a little lighter. Yes, that's broccoli on the pizza. Delicious. Then I can pull some of the green from the broccoli. But really, I want that bright red. I'm going to click there. And now it says this color has been copied to your clipboard. So then I can go in, see, and I can make change the font. It's going to look funny, but I'm going to go to custom. And I pasted that red. So now the typing here is the exact color from the picture. So if you really want to stick with your theme, you can pull colors from anywhere on the web. So that's pretty fun. We will Colorzilla again. Maybe. Sometimes it doesn't want to line up really well. If you find a different color picker that works better, go with it. It usually works better. The mouse in here is giving me some trouble. So sort of an olive green, but that's fine. I'm going to make that the title. So click on the font color, custom, paste it. Wait for the computer to wake up. So now it did not such healthy looking broccoli color for Italian, but that's fine. Okay. All right. So we've done the Explore tool. We've done some changes. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here and click Next. So that's all kind of imaging, formatting, all of that. So now let's get into adding links, and then we'll look at some sharing. Okay, how are we doing so far? Okay, so if you used any of my kind of tutorials, you have seen buttons, right? And you've been able to click on the buttons and go back and forth. There may or may not have been an email that just went out about grades. Sorry, except for graduate kids who don't have grades coming up next week like everyone else. So that was done with slides. So I just add a shape, put some text in, and then you can link it. And you can link it to anywhere in your presentation or to an outside source. So let's add that into your slideshow that you've already done. Okay? So you can pick a new page if you want to, slide, and then pick whatever shape you want. I'll go with partial rounded. Okay, you can add a shape, You double click on it and add text. Get really creative here. Click here. Comic book, not comic sans. Okay, you can change centering. Change the colors. Go with the backgrounds. We should probably make the font lighter. So it shows up. Okay, so we just made a button, but it doesn't go anywhere. We didn't link it. Okay, so then let's say we want to click here to see pizza. All right, you can guess where I'm going to link this. So I'm going to click on the shape itself. You can also click on the text, but then it gives an underline, so I like to click on the shape. And I want to link this back to my pizza slide. Okay, so I'm going to go up here. You can either do insert link, or you can see the little link icon. So I'm going to click on the link icon, and you can either paste in a link to go to a website about pizza, or you can click where it says slides in this presentation. I'm going to click there. I'm going to go to number 2, Italian food. That's the one that shows pizza. And then apply. Okay, so now if I click on it in regular edit mode, it's kind of hard to notice that there's a link until I click on the outside. But if you go to present mode, it just clicks and links it. Okay. So you can use that to link back and forth within your presentation with buttons, or you can do this as maybe a choose your own adventure, right? Because you could add a link without really showing the shape, right? So you could say, click on the tomatoes to learn more about tomatoes. You could add little directions in there. We could change this text instead of talking about this. You could say, click on some of the different toppings to learn more about them and their nutritional value, or something like that. And then all you need to do is you can add in a shape. And instead of having it gray, or actually let me add the text first so I don't lose it. Just so I can remember that it's there. I'm going to change the background to transparent and even the outline to transparent. Right? You can keep the word in there if you want or not, but then you can have that link to another site. So it's sort of making hotspots all over your document, right? Where you can say, click here to find out this ending story. So students could make their own choose your own adventure stories in like creative writing. So that's kind of making a mini site with buttons. I have in the past talked about hyperdocs. I really loved using hyperdocs, and I usually used a Word or a Google Doc for that. But with Google Docs, you're a little bit more limited in terms of your images. If you try to add an image, it moves everything else around. You can't just slide it around the page and put it wherever you want, like you can with slides. So if you want a little bit more flexibility, you're going to want to use slides for that. But it's basically the same idea. And what a hyperdoc does is it gives students a landing page where they can then choose what they're going to do. And so there are a bunch of links that take them to another activity. Or, for me, I would always have one that linked to the answers from the last night's homework, and one that linked to an assignment that they had to do that day, the must do. And then I would always have some extra assignments for a student that was really quick. They could then, if they did all of their requirements, then they could do the extra activities. And I would make sure to have enough in there that they could really play around, and they didn't have to go in the same order, as everything else. They could, click here for the notes, and then they could access some notes, and click here for the assignment, click here for the homework, and things like that. So you can do that using Google Docs, or you can do that using Google Slides. But that's a side note. So you could do that and then embed into Canvas if you wanted to do all of your work in Google Slides anyway. You can see how this is embedded in, and that's really straightforward, which we'll look at next. Okay, so that's all this hyperdoc versus hyperslide is. It's saying try using slides instead of a Google Doc for your Hyper, whatever it is, your activity choice board that you're going to assign students, which is a great thing if you're going to have a sub. If you have access to a Chromebook or in your room, it's really nice. So then the students already know what to do. They just log in and then they can use the activity in there. And the sub really doesn't have to do a lot. So the in-class activity here is kind of similar to what I mentioned at the beginning, where you can use slides for activities. This is kind of a special use case where you don't even have to prep it in advance. I saw this done where the teacher just said, okay guys, I'm just gonna make this new slide. She made a blank presentation, named it something so she would know where it was, did the sharing settings so anyone with the link could edit, and then pushed it out to her class. She was using Classroom, you could use Classroom or Canvas, push it out to your class, and then the directions were, okay, everybody or each group gets one slide, so add a slide, put your name in the presenter notes, and then respond to my prompt in the regular section. So she said, yes, occasionally students will delete someone else's slide, but you can always track that, right? You can go into the revision history and you can track that and then yell at whoever is going in and messing with other people. But for the most part, because everyone's creating their own new slide, they're not really messing with other people's stuff, they're just working on their own. So then for you to grade it, you're just opening up the slide deck that you created, so nobody has to share it with you. And you can click through, you can see what they've done, and then you can see in the presenter notes, oh, that was this person or this group, and you can assign credit right away. So that's what this is kind of outlining. I'm going to hit next, and then we'll get into embedding and sharing. Okay, so like I just mentioned, these slides are embedded in the Canvas presentation, and it makes it so there was no authentication, you must log in, you can't access these slides. None of that happened because these are published to the web. Anybody can search them right there. Somebody finds these, and then I use the embed code to add them to Canvas. Okay, so we can practice that. You don't have to publish, right? You can make something in Canvas and it doesn't have to go to your students. So go to your presentation that you just made. Might as well give it a name. The name. I'm going to name it this. Maybe actually put it somewhere. Okay. So then to get the embed code, so I'm in my presentation, I'm just going to click File and then Publish to the web. Okay. And this pops up, I'm going to click Publish. You have to verify, yes, I'm sure I want to do this. And then I want to go to Embed. So there's Link and then there's Embed. If you share the link this way, it automatically forces it to be in present mode, which is kind of a bonus. But I want to go a step further and I'm going to click Embed, and then I have all this code here. Don't be afraid of the code. Just click on it, it highlights all of it, and copy it. Then have a new tab of Canvas, so you can keep this one open, but open up a new tab. I'm just going to duplicate so I'm still in Canvas. And then go into a class where you're a teacher. If you have a sandbox course, go for it. If you don't, just go into any class where you're a teacher. And let's just make this an assignment. So click Assignments. And we're going to add a new one. I'm going to say plus assignment. I'm going to name it Google Slides, so then I can search for it later. Google Slide Embed. Okay. And then for the description, you can add a little text description if you want, like click through these slides to learn about English. Okay. Then I'm going to go to HTML editor. If you've never even noticed that was there, fine, you're going to use it. So click on HTML editor, and then you'll see the code for the text that you just entered. Where it has the text and it says the little P's and the slashes, that means paragraph return. If you hit return now, it doesn't add another, but it's just visually, you can see what you're doing. And then paste the embed code. It makes it a little bit big. You can change the size. I happen to have the size that I like memorized. But if you don't have it memorized, that's fine. You can adjust the size later. But I'm going to say width 650. But we want to adjust the height accordingly. That would be 394. Bonus points. You can memorize that immediately. You want to see what it looks like, go back to rich content. And then, if you remember, my first slide was blank. Let me get rid of that. After I refresh, that blank will not be there anymore. But now the embedded Google Slides are in there. Nobody has to worry about an authorization not being able to access it. And it's right there where they can click through on the spot. Now, you don't want to do this for something where they need to type, because they can't type on this one. That's a different presentation, but it sets it up really quickly. Save it. Yeah. Nope. So I'm just going to hit save, and then it automatically already updated because that was sort of a refresh. As soon as you refresh your page, so hitting save did it, then it updated it. So if I go back and I change something, that will work. Yeah, so if I go back and I say, well, really, I wanted to have a title in here. Okay, now I have a title page. Then I can go back in here, click refresh, and it'll show the new. Okay, that's embedding it into your Google, I'm sorry, into your Canvas. And pretty much anything Google, you can catch the embed code and embed it into Canvas. Strangely enough, the most challenging one is Google Docs. Right? The most straightforward of all of the Google features is the most challenging to embed. And it's because of the size. It doesn't show the size. So I always have to look up where the size is, because I do very little with Docs, and figure out how to change that where it doesn't just show it in the code. But you can do that with forms as well, which is really nice. So you can, put in a picture or a video, and then sort of kind of puzzling it by putting the form right there, and they have to respond to questions about whatever it is inside that same box. So it's kind of nice. They don't go to an external thing. Okay, so that's embedding it in Canvas. But let's say you just want to share your slides with somebody, and you've made a button like this. If you just hit share and you copy the link, I'm going to open a new tab, paste it, just like if somebody, if you email it with someone, paste that in there. It's going to open up where it's going to say you only, but they're going to see all of this stuff on the side. If they go to this one, they're going to click and go, it's not working. I clicked, but nothing, unless they happen to click on the outside, then maybe they notice that. They're not really going to notice that it's a clickable link. But instead, you change, no, it's not changing it, because it's up in the link. I'm going to actually paste the link in here. This way. Make it really big. Okay. So in the link, before you send it to whoever you're going to send it to, you just change that word edit to preview or present. Then it gives them the link in present mode. So I'm just going to highlight that word edit, change it to preview. Now if I copy this link and I paste it somewhere, because you published, you can just use the published link as well. But if you paste it now, you can't see it because it's so tiny, but up here it says preview instead of edit. Hit enter, and then it's going to be in preview mode. So if we go to that last slide, the link works, and they don't have to hunt around for it. And another thing you can do with that is instead of changing edit to preview, let's say you want to share something with a bunch of people, like some colleagues, but you want everybody to have their own copy. And you just want to email it, you don't want to do anything else fancy. So instead, change that preview to copy. Not copy. Now, if I copy all of this, paste it in, so you can send the link with copy instead of edit, then it's going to open this up and it's going to say, would you like to make a copy? So you can force them to make a copy before they even open it. So there's no emailing you, I forgot to give the edit rights, because they just get this, oh, sure, I want to make a copy. They click make a copy, and then it shows up as copy of. If, mine's not cooperating today, but it usually works. You know, check doesn't work every time. But then you're sharing it that way. Let's see, I think that was force copy. And then the last thing, you can add sound to slides now, and that's brand new. You weren't able to in the past. If you want to add a lot of sound, if you want your students to basically narrate everything, I think it's going to be easier. You can ask me how. If you haven't come to the Adobe Spark training, it's going to be a little bit easier to use Adobe Spark Video for that. It's just a little more user-friendly. But if you just want to add in a transition on your slides to just add edutainment, that's the new word for it, you can do that now. There's a quick Google extension that you can click here and you can add it. Let's see if the sound is working. It was supposed to right there, so let's see. I think I opened. This one. It's not doing it. So I added in a little bit of sound there, but it's not showing up now. There's some sound issues in here since I can't hear any of the people at home either. But it just does it when you open the new slide. So it adds that transition sound. So you could add in sound effects or your own voice. You know, if you know, okay, this is a part of my presentation where people are starting to get a little groggy, you can add in a little pow, and then everyone's like, what just happened there, right? Or as they're on their own. So just adding a little bit of fun. Okay, so you can click there to download the link and learn more about it. But it's pretty straightforward. Are there any Google Slides and slide related questions? All right, so you've now earned it, I believe. If you click next at the bottom, then you'll be able to get to the link for the attendance today as well as the code. If you can't, what happens is you'll see a little note in there saying, here's what you need to do, and it tells you exactly what, and they're linked. You can click on one of those links, because I don't think I asked you to turn anything in. I think you just have to view all of it. So as long as you kept clicking next, you're fine. If you need to go back and click next, go for it. So if you have questions, feel free to stay. Otherwise, once you've taken attendance, you don't have to stay.
Thank you.
You were very patient. Thank you guys so much. I know I was just seeing if they're talking, so thank you for your patience. And at home, thank you. I'm gonna real quick check in on the chat and see if anybody added anything. Let's see. No? All right. So once you guys have hit your attendance and logged that you've been here, feel free to log out. I'm going to keep the meeting open until I see that everybody's gone, or after a little while, if you like left the room and went to sleep, I will close it eventually. But thank you very much for participating. Yeah,
Unrelated.
sure. Let me mute this so that we don't. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sign out of the meeting. Thank you so much for participating.